Welcome to another video on the Giant Take Podcast YouTube channel. I am Josh, and I am joined by my co-host and partner here on this podcast and friend. Don't forget about that, Alex. We are here to talk about a Giants full NFL mock draft. Very exciting stuff. This is our first full NFL mock draft for the New York Giants, and it comes after our first round NFL mock draft, which is our 1.0 of that too. So super fun stuff.
7-round mock draft. I like saying that. I don't know. Fun.
Well, but Giants only go up to the 6th round.
I know, but it's still 7-round mock draft.
7-round mock draft.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, there's our quirkiness already starting here, maybe even 30 seconds into this video. Okay, so before you click off, we're going to start and get into the content right now. And Alex, I'd like to thank you because you did a couple-hour research on this in this process of getting these picks. So I'm very much going to just leave it to you to, I guess, start it off and let us know what we're doing here, you know, for the people who just don't know or need a little bit of a refresher.
Yeah, so the Giants have 9 picks in this 2022 NFL draft. I went through, kind of did like the mock draft. So this is kind of who's available, right? I didn't just pick like random people. It's not like Aiden Hutchinson. Oh, he'd be nice in the 3rd round, wouldn't he? I made it like actually realistic. So hopefully all that works out. I have some pros, some cons, some stuff about each guy. And then also some of their relative athletic scores for the combine as well. Obviously, the combine just happened a few days ago, so something to kind of talk about as well and see what kind of athleticism these guys all have, their athletic numbers specifically. So we'll talk about that after as well. But Josh, why don't we get right into it with the first pick for the Giants?
Yeah, so round 1, pick 5 for the New York Giants as it stands right now. You know, who knows as we're recording this Tuesday night. I mean, Russell Wilson got traded to the Broncos, and now the Broncos got a bunch of first-round picks, so it could change. But for right now, in this 1.0, round 1, pick 5, first pick for the New York Giants, we are going offensive tackle EKWONU out of NC State as our first pick for the Giants. Again, pick 5. His height, 6'4", and weight 320 pounds.
Yeah, and EKWONU, he was certainly a guy who stood out in the combine. You know, he came in exactly 6'4", 300. What did you say, Josh? 320? 320. Yeah, there you go. 320. He had a good day at the combine. He ran a 4.93 40, 1.76 10-yard split, and also had a very good broad jump at 9 feet as well. He had a relative athletic score of 8.22. Which is quite good. That's a very much above average score. So he certainly performed well at the combine. Talking about EKWONU, he's an excellent run blocker. That's kind of how you go with these 3 tackles, right? You got the big 3. Cross is the best pass protector. EKWONU is the best run blocker, and Neal's kind of like the mix of both of them. What I would say in this mock, EKWONU and Charles Cross were both available at this pick. I ended up going with EKWONU because of his flexibility at possibly being able to play the guard position at the NFL level. That's something the Giants could need down the line, could be, beneficial. So that's why I edged it to EKWONU. I actually like Charles Cross better as a pure tackle, but I think EKWONU gives you the flexibility. Like I said before, he's an excellent run blocker. He has great athleticism, like I mentioned before. He's just a bulldozer. He gets to the 1st, to the 2nd, to the 3rd level really quickly, and he's just really, really good in the run game. Pass pro, he's not the best, but he's a good pass protector, but he doesn't have some of the best techniques. His feet are not always the best, his hand placement not always the best, and sometimes he oversteps, making it super easy for defenders to fly right by him, whether that be around the edge or moving inside. So something to look out for EKWONU, but I was happy to see him fall here and have the option to choose between him and Charles Cross, but excellent pick here at number 5 for the Giants.
Moving on to round 1, pick 7, the second first-round pick the New York Giants have because of their trade with the Chicago Bears, right, last season in the NFL draft, giving the Giants or having the Giants trade back to 20, getting Kadarius Toney last season, so now they get pick 7 this season. They choose with pick 7, cornerback, Ahmed Sauce, nickname Gardner out of Cincinnati. Very good in the NFL scouting combine, which I'm sure Alex is going to get to. A top 3, if not top 2, if not number 1 cornerback heading into this NFL draft. He is standing at 6 foot 3 inches, and he weighs just about 200 pounds right on the dot.
Yeah, you mentioned the combine. He was great at the combine. He was in the 90th percentile in 40 times, ran a 4.41 of 1.54 for a 10-yard split. And like you mentioned, he just really had a great combine. He didn't run some of the agility and explosion drills, so we don't really have the data on that. But in general, he had a great combine. All he needed to prove is he fast enough to play in the NFL. He certainly is at a 4.41. He has great length. He's an excellent tackler and run defender. That's something that I don't think people talk about often. Wink Martindale, he loves bringing his corners in. They need to be good tacklers. He likes bringing them on blitzes. It's important for your safeties to be able to be good in the run game and good tacklers. And Sauce is certainly very good at that. I know it sounds silly that I'm saying Sauce. That's what people call him. That it's kind of a cool nickname, I do have to admit.
You're embracing it.
Yes, I'm embracing it. He's great in man coverage. 0 touchdowns allowed in over 1,000 snaps, which is crazy. 1,000. Can you it's just nutty. And he's just an excellent man corner. He is susceptible to double moves. That is something you do see in his tape sometimes, something to look out for at the NFL level. And his lack of experience in zone. When he has played in zone, he has been solid, but they didn't run it a lot at Cincinnati. So that's something to take into account. But then again, Wink, a mostly man guy. So wouldn't worry about it too much from the Giants' perspective.
And moving on to the next pick, the New York Giants have. We skipped to the second round, and the New York Giants' next pick is round 2, pick 37. And this time they address the offensive line once again, taking guard Zion Johnson out of Boston College. This guy is another person that has been mentioned to the New York Giants, whether it's in the first round, whether he slips to the second round, which, I mean, in this mock draft, you hope he does so in the NFL draft as well, hoping I would take one of the Giants. Obviously, we have him here. Anyway, height, he's 6'3" and total of 312 pounds.
Yeah, another one of those Senior Bowl standouts who originally was projected to be around a second round pick, mid-second round probably, kind of rose to, like you mentioned, Josh, a possible first round target. Maybe not as early as the Giants are picking in the first round, but I could see him going as early as somewhere like 15 or 16. Certainly. He's a really talented player. He's like EKWONU. He's an outstanding run blocker. He's also a smooth pass protector. He does need to improve certain pass pro techniques, especially, sometimes his feet just aren't really set and he can have balance issues. That's another thing you have to talk about with him. But in general, he's a very solid offensive lineman. He's great in double teams. He understands stunts and all the different concepts that you need to know. He rarely gets beat, and he's just outstanding in the run game, like I mentioned before. And he really just pushes his guy forward and gets to the second level as well. And he's just a really, really impressive player who really stood out the Senior Bowl. He also stood out the Combine, having a 9.56 relative athletic score. He had a 32-inch vert, 9-foot broad jump. He ran a 5.18, 1.8 10-yard split, which is not terrible for a guard. And he also had a 7.38 three-cone, which is extremely good in the 97th percentile. So Zion Johnson, an excellent prospect. I was happy to see he was still available when the Giants were up. He may not be, but in this scenario, he was. So that's why he's here at pick 37.
And we move now to the third round where the Giants have 2 picks, 10 away from each other, 69 and 79. Round 3, pick 69. Gotta love that number. Edge, I had to do it. Edge, Josh Paschal. I assume that's
Pascal,
right.
I think. Pascal.
I didn't.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know his pronunciation, but Pascal, something like that.
I would think SCH though.
Pascal. Right. Whatever. Doesn't matter. He's a great.
I would think that's S and C.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna say Josh. I'm gonna go Josh Paschal, Kentucky. He is a total of 6'3", 268 pounds. And again, now the Giants going more, again, to the defense, this time addressing the edge, which they definitely need. We know this to be the case. Not many worthy talents on the New York Giants, but that's not, I mean, when it comes to edge, but we don't need to get into that. That's not what this video is about right now. Alex, you can go into Paschal.
I think it's Pascal. We're gonna figure it out one day.
Little bit. Go for it.
Okay. I think Josh, not you, Josh. I think Pascal. I'm gonna say him. I think he is very much similar to Jermaine Johnson. I actually think they're very similar in the way they play, their abilities, their physical attributes. One thing I don't like saying like a Walmart version. That's like disrespectful. I think he is just not as good at what he does, but they have similar attributes. Yes, Josh?
I think it is Paschal. I just watched a highlight of him doing a very nice sack off the edge, actually, against Miami. Got to the quarterback very quickly, and the announcer said, very nice sack by Josh Paschal.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Paschal. There we go. So Paschal, like I said before, similar to Jermaine Johnson, who's a like early to mid first round prospect currently. He has great explosiveness. He's a solid run defender. He has great strength. He's more of a power rush type of guy. He can beat you around the edge, but his bend is just not elite, unfortunately. And that's kind of the reason why he's so low. His other aspects of his game are very strong. It's just his below average bend. That's something that people say about Jermaine Johnson, but for Paschal, it's even more of an issue. And that's kind of why he's fallen this far, but still he gives you a nice solid floor with some upside because of his explosiveness, because of what he can do in the run game, and because of what he can do with the power rush. So certainly an impressive guy, and he tested extremely well at the combine too. He had a 9.08 relative athletic score, and he had a 37.5-inch vert, 10-foot broad jump. He had a 10-yard split of 1.62, which is very good. And he had a 4.77 40-yard dash. So certainly scored very well, Josh Paschal. And I was happy to see him on the board. And in this scenario, you're in the third round. There was some better edges available in the second round, but, we had to go with Zion Johnson. You need to solidify this offensive line. And you're kind of looking at the board and you're like, okay, if I wait, there's really going to be nobody left. And that's kind of what I went for. And I saw Josh Paschal on the board. Maybe a bit of a reach at this position, but you need, you're trying to fill positions here that you really need, and edge is certainly one of them.
Yeah, Paschal being the good pick there at 69, on to round 3, pick 79, linebacker Channing Tindall from Georgia. He is 6'2" and is 230 pounds. Again, out of Georgia, that's going to be another guy we're bringing in from the Bulldogs, so that's something to note on.
Yeah, and this guy, he wasn't really even a starter for Georgia during their national championship run. There was guys like Quay Walker who had already gone to Kobe Dean. He was kind of behind those two guys, but he certainly had some playing time, and he was extremely effective during that playing time. So that's something you do have to take into account. I think he certainly has gone up mocks after the combine. I'll get to that in a bit, but I want to talk about what he does best. He has elite speed, and he's a great tackler. Now, the problem with him is he is very limited in coverage. Think kind of Blake Martinez in terms of like a great tackler but limited coverage ability. I'd say he's worse in coverage, but he's more athletic. And the only thing with Tindall is that he's fast, he's quick, but he doesn't change direction well, and he seems a little bit flat-footed at times, and that's something I think that separates him from some of the top linebackers in this class. But then again, I feel like having a Georgia Bulldog on this team, a winning team, people who know how to win in that unit where they were around so many great players, I think Tindall really has a great opportunity to be a solid linebacker at the NFL level.
Moving on to round 4, pick 109, defensive tackle Neil Farrell Jr. out of LSU, another team that knows how to win. They won with Joe Burrow a couple years ago, and now we're picking a guy from LSU. His height is 6'4" and weight 330 pounds.
Yeah, and with Farrell, he has great length, he has great eyes, and maintains gap control, whether that be in the run game, His cons really are that he's kind of not the best pass rusher. Obviously, as a nose tackle, it's not the biggest deal in the world. And his lack of quickness is certainly something to take note of. But especially in the run game, he seems to get into the pocket. And that's something, even in the pass game a bit. He doesn't necessarily get to the quarterback, but he gets in the pocket. And I think that's something you see in his film, and that's very impressive about him. And in the 4th round, it's just very good value for him. In terms of the combine, he had a woeful combine. He had a 1.31 relative athletic score out of 10, and he ran a 5.41 40-yard dash, which is just not great, unfortunately for him. And I think that kind of, he was originally saw as more of a 2nd round, maybe 3rd round guy, but because of a poor combine, maybe he falls a bit, and that's why he was here in the 4th round. So that's something you also have to take into account here. So this is kind of a combine slider. And he moved to the into the early 4th round, and the Giants select him here. Still think he's a very good football player.
I think you meant originally seen, but originally saw. Not correct grammar, Alex. And for someone
sorry,
who likes to correct me a lot of the time.
Sorry about that.
That's a big deal. We move on to round 5, pick 146. The Giants have a couple picks in round 5 as well. We'll start with the first one. Again, 146. Here is a position, running back, that the Giants really need improvements on, because Devontae Booker, he got cut. So now we have Saquon Barkley, he could very well be traded. And our next guys on the list are basically practice squad guys, not to be rude or anything, but we definitely need a running back with the Giants. So Pierre Strong Jr., South Dakota State. He's 5'11", 202 pounds. That's the next guy here. Pick 146.
Yeah, Pierre Strong's an interesting one. Another guy who had a great combine, ran a 4.37 at the combine, 10-yard split of 1.56, had a 10-foot broad jump. Just excellent from Pierre Strong, a 9.66 relative athletic score. He was also, if you look at his tape, he had a great high school career. He didn't really get that many great offers for some reason. He ended up going to South Dakota State. He's played for 3 years at South Dakota State, so he has lots of playing time, lots of experience, and he has great speed. He's very powerful, and he's got great vision. He's just a very solid runner. Kind of what his issues are, he's not exactly a great pass blocker. In terms of pass catching, he's average. He doesn't really have a good route tree or really a great route runner, but he has solid hands. It's average. It's not really a pro or a con for him, but he certainly is a poor pass blocker, and that's something that's going to have to improve at the NFL level. And obviously at South Dakota State, the competition is just really not good enough, and that's something that's also a bit concerning for Pierre Strong. But great speed. He has all the physical traits to make it as a good running back at the NFL level.
Addressing everything here on the offensive defense, the Giants' next pick in round 5, 171, is a wide receiver. VELUS Jones Jr. From Tennessee. He comes in at 6 foot, 203 pounds.
Yeah, at this point in round 5, I'm really looking for a tight end. For the past couple rounds, I've been looking for a tight end. It's just the value's not really there yet. So I see VELUS Jones Jr. on the board, and I'm like, that guy can move. And in the 5th round, it's just like you're looking for value at that point. So VELUS Jones Jr. Out of Tennessee, he's a great kick returner. He's a great athlete. We saw that at the Senior Bowl. We saw that at the Combine. He's a solid route runner. It's just a bit, he's older. He's already 25. He has a limited route tree. He's a good route runner on the routes he runs, but he really didn't get exposed to much at Tennessee. So that's something you do have to take into account. His hands are average, nothing special, nothing great. But he's quick. He ran a 4.31 at the Combine in the 99th percentile, 1.53 10-yard split. But he has not a great vertical at 33 inches, so that's something to take into account. Obviously, he's 6 foot. He's an interesting prospect. I think he could end up kind of falling down the depth chart at the NFL level and be more of a special teams guy, more of a Joe Judge special. But I think he has potential to be a nice wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 at the NFL. And in 5th round, that's kind of all you're looking for.
And in the 6th round, the final pick for the New York Giants in this draft, pick 183, tight end, Jelani Woods out of Virginia. You mentioned tight end already, Alex. You were looking for that value guy. This one, I mean, his size is tremendous. 6'7", 253 pounds. Tall and slim. Could be a perfect fit for this team. Got a good big window for Daniel Jones to throw to.
Yeah, for sure. He's an excellent athlete. Again, another guy who really stood out at the combine. 9.97 out of 10 relative athletic score, which is crazy. He put 24 reps on the bench. He ran a 4.61 40, which is crazy for a guy who's 6'7". 1.6 10-yard split. He's an excellent red zone weapon. He's kind of like a Kyle Rudolph that's really athletic, if you want to think about it like that, but he doesn't have the hands. He doesn't have the route running. He doesn't really have yards after catch. He doesn't really have the, big plays after the catch ability. He's more of like inside the 20-yard line. That's where you throw the ball to him. He's not really an every down tight end, but at this point in the draft, if you can get someone who's a solid tight end too, I think you take it. And he didn't really run many different types of routes at Virginia, and he has his ability to run those routes, even the ones he did run, not great. He's more of a toss it up and hope he grabs it type of guy, and really bullies the linebacker that he's up against or slot corner with his height. 6'7", it's a tough matchup for any defender.
And with that, it's going to conclude this New York Giants. I don't know if we'll do more, but I'll just say for right now, 1.0 7-round mock draft. We enjoyed, or Alex enjoyed, I'm sure, doing this. I enjoyed participating in the collaborative effort of putting this together. I'll say that, of the video aspect of this or the audio aspect of this. So thank you so much to anyone who is watching, listening, whatever you're doing. We appreciate the support. To support us more, a few things you can do. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube, you can subscribe. On YouTube specifically, you can drop a like on the video. You can also check out all the content here on the YouTube channel. It's a lot of stuff that is big on the New York Giants, but not just Giants, NFL, football in general. We do a lot of that as well. For example, Alex's full first round mock draft that's going to get you to, most, if not all of the teams you're gonna want to hear about, except the teams that don't have a first round pick. So with that, you can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at the Giant Take Pod, on Instagram and Facebook, the Giant Take Podcast. Alex on Twitter at ANORN23. I'm on Twitter at Joshua29. Most of that info will be in the description. So with that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Peace.